Over the years, the women of country music have captivated audiences not just with their mesmerizing voices and unparalleled talent, but with their unapologetic boldness, stunning beauty, and an unshakable commitment to living life on their own terms, terms that no one could bend. Beneath the sparkle of faux diamonds, the sweet melodies of guitars, and the elegance of Southern charm lies a tangled web of unexpected secrets. Scandalous love affairs, hidden romances, and audacious choices have left Nashville stunned. These women are more than just legends in music. They are fierce forces, unafraid to embrace a life brimming with drama and intrigue. Prepare to dive deep into the untold stories and hidden truths behind the dazzling fame of the fiercest queens of classic country music. In this video, we'll take you on an unexpected journey, uncovering private secrets, clandestine affairs, and jaw-dropping choices that will leave you in awe. Drop a comment with the number 1 if you connect with these stars, or the number 0 if you have a different perspective. If you're eager to discover more about these enigmatic female artists, don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap the notification bell so you never miss an exciting video coming your way. Patsy Cline was the kind of woman who could walk into a room and instantly command every glance. Her wit was razor-sharp, rough as a sailor's tongue, yet her heart beat with the tenderness of a poet. Her laughter carried like music through silence, lingering long after it faded. With her bold red lipstick, unshakable high heels, and unmistakable presence, she was nothing short of a force of nature. Men were drawn to her, women admired her, and everyone seemed compelled by the mystery she carried. She lived fully in each moment, radiating a self-assurance impossible to overlook. Picture her leaning against a jukebox in a smoky Nashville bar, slipping in a coin, then singing her own song as if the room already belonged to her. Patsy didn't simply sing, she erupted with emotion. Every note was a storm, every phrase a revelation. She never tried to bury the turmoil in her soul, and she had no intention of ever doing so. She was a woman who could never be pressed into a mold, carrying both the storm and the calm within her in perfect balance. Every note she delivered, every movement she made, radiated a raw authenticity that was impossible to overlook. Whether under the glare of the spotlight or tucked away in a quiet Nashville corner, Patsy carried a magnetism that demanded notice. Her mix of vulnerability and strength didn't just make her a star, it made her a symbol of a woman unwilling to be caged by society's expectations. In her presence, a room seemed to come alive, and Patsy, layered, complex, and unshaken, made one thing certain: she was here to stay, unapologetically herself. Love drifts in and out sometimes, as fleeting as the wind. Patsy never clung to it, never offered explanations. She would light a cigarette, exhale slowly, then laugh softly, leaving behind the broken fragments of her own story. Some said she preyed on weakness, but to her it was strength. She had worn the ring, chased love blindly, and felt the sting of heartbreak. The so-called virtuous women judged her in public, yet in private, they played her records, poured another glass of wine, and wept. Patsy was never careless. She simply refused to bow to convention. In a world that demanded women stay quiet and obedient, she chose to live on her own terms, bold, fiery, unapologetic, and unforgettable. As the dim lights faded, the room sank into silence. Then a gentle voice rose. "Spread your arms wide, hold me tight." The crowd stirred. Men nursed their beers while women leaned in, listening intently to every word. Billie Joe Spears didn't just sing, she unfolded stories through her songs. Each lyric felt like a door slowly opening, drawing listeners into places they hadn't dared to explore. Her voice, husky, yet sweet, carried both sensuality and reflection, holding the audience captive with every note. Billie Joe never shied away from honesty, even when it meant exposing the uncomfortable truths about love. Her song, Blanket on the Ground, was exactly that, an invitation to intimacy within marriage, tender, yet unapologetically sensual. She proved that love and desire were never buried beneath the dust of time or locked away behind a wedding band, but remained alive in every heartbeat. Once the stage lights dimmed, the whispers would begin about her fitted dresses, the lingering looks, the fleeting romances on the road. Yet Billie Joe's fearless honesty always broke through in her performances, where she seamlessly balanced the fire of passion with the tenderness of vulnerability. She had no need for masks or pretenses. Instead, she offered her audience a love that was bold, unrestrained, and profoundly real, an open invitation to live fully and love without apology. Rumors followed her that she loved freely in many places with affairs that were fleeting and undefined. Others claimed she was simply done pretending that women lost their fire after 30 in a society that refused to acknowledge their depth of passion and desire. Yet Billie Joe never gave the whispers her time. Instead, she let her music carry the truth, her melodies and lyrics revealing what words alone could never capture. Each time she closed her eyes and leaned into the microphone, the judgments faded into silence. Billie Joe lived the life so many only dreamed of, one without fear, without disguise, brimming with passion and love. She embraced experiences that few would ever dare, loving with abandon and giving her all, unconcerned with society's rules or the weight of critical eyes. Beneath the glow of the stage lights, she was entirely herself, fearless in revealing the depth of her emotions and desires that never dimmed with time. For Billie Joe, music was never just a string of melodies. It was her life poured into song, a vivid tapestry of joy and sorrow, woven into stories that only music could truly tell. Roberta Lee Streeter, known to the world as Bobbie Gentry, was born on July 27, 1942 in Mississippi. She appeared like a summer breeze, unexpected yet unforgettable, in a sleek black pencil skirt that traced her silhouette and a guitar slung over her shoulder like a secret weapon. Her voice was velvety and richly Southern, radiating warmth, while her cool, steady gaze kept people at a careful distance. When Bobbie sang, every lyric felt like a question mark, inviting reflection. Her signature hit, Ode to Billie Joe, is proof, without spelling everything out. Its few haunting lines were enough to leave listeners unsettled, wondering about the hidden meanings she left between the words. Bobbie Gentry never performed in the conventional sense. She wasn't simply a singer, she was an artist who could command emotion, guiding listeners with ease into a space where mystery met revelation. Blending intrigue with honesty, she held her audience captive, urging them to peel back the hidden layers within every lyric. More than a performer, she was a storyteller, weaving haunting narratives that transformed her songs into journeys each listener had to travel alone. By contrast, Bobbie Gentry's image was so magnetic that every lyric felt like a whispered secret, something listeners weren't meant to hear but couldn't resist. She created a world of mystery and unpredictability, as if a hidden challenge lingered in the shadows of her smoky eyes. Whenever the press pressed her about Billie Joe, she would only offer a vague shrug, revealing nothing. Fans were left to wonder, was the story an ode to Billie Joe real? Instead of clarifying, Bobbie would artfully shift the subject, leaving every question suspended, every curiosity unanswered. Men trailed after her like moths drawn to a flame, hoping to be part of her next untold story. Yet just when they thought they were close, she would slip away without farewell, without even a glance, leaving them silent and stunned. Bobbie Gentry's songs carried sensuality not only in their lyrics, but also in the silences between them. Every pause held a magnetic pull, as if it too were part of the mystery she wove. She knew exactly how to play with her audience's curiosity, leaving them restless with longing, always eager to uncover the secrets she never revealed. Bobbie was more than a singer. She was an artist who mastered the art of emotional control. Each time she performed, it became more than music. It was a journey that kept listeners transfixed, their hearts quickening, as each veil of mystery slowly lifted, deepening their desire to understand the world Bobbie created within every melody. Fancy felt like a confession wrapped in triumph. Bobbie sang it with unshakable confidence, as if she herself had lived the life no proper girl would ever dare admit. Each lyric went beyond melody. It was an unveiling, a bold dive into the shadows society preferred to ignore. She never flinched from truth, even if it risked making people look away. In every word, Bobbie revealed not only her artistry, but the strength and courage of a woman determined to live without disguise. And then one day she vanished. No farewell tour, no tabloid scandal, just silence. A disappearance as mysterious as her music, without explanation, without warning. Bobbie never needed to explain herself. She was the kind of woman who could burn a house down with a single glance, resilient, magnetic, and unforgettable. In her presence, everything seemed to pause. And when the fire faded, she simply walked away, calm and unshaken, still singing softly like a star, untouched by what had just passed. What she left behind was silence, a wordless explosion that only music could hold. With that quiet departure, Bobbie Gentry proved she was more than an artist. She was a legend who required no explanations, only the lasting imprint she carved into the hearts of those who listened. When it comes to sexy women in country music, Margot Smith may not be the first name that comes to mind, but her free-spirited style and distinct charm made her unforgettable to fans. Born in 1942, Margot's musical journey began at an early age. With her smooth soprano voice and emotionally charged singing, she caught the public's eye from the start. Early on, her musical style was gentle and approachable, featuring heartfelt love songs like There I Said It and Take My Breath Away. These tracks helped Margot craft an image as a gifted artist capable of stirring deep emotions with every note, leaving listeners' hearts racing. Just when it seemed like Margot Smith's career would continue down a smooth and steady path with her easy listening hits, she made a bold move in 1979 that would change everything. This decision was more than just a career choice. It reflected Margot's free-spirited and adventurous soul. Tired of being boxed into safe, predictable tunes, she decided to break free and offer her audience something fresh and more impactful. This shift marked a pivotal moment in Margot's career, opening the door to a thrilling and challenging new chapter. At a time when country music wasn't particularly open to a sexy image for mature women, Margot Smith shocked both the public and critics with her dramatic makeover. She shed her conservative image, chopped her hair, and embraced form-fitting dresses, an undeniably bold choice. Her song, Still a Woman, featuring the line, "Still a woman who can need a little love sometimes," ignited a firestorm of debate. Was she desperate or courageous? But Margot wasn't seeking validation. She was making a statement that age doesn't equate to invisibility or lack of emotion. Despite being labeled a floozy, Margot had no major scandals to her name. She simply sang about desire shattering the boundaries of country music for mature women. In the late 1970s and early 1980s, Barbara Mandrell emerged as a dynamic icon of country pop, effortlessly blending musical talent with star power. Not only was she a multi-instrumentalist, but she also became a beloved television personality with a commanding, soulful voice that captivated listeners from the very first note. Her combination of musical prowess and magnetic stage presence elevated Barbara to the peak of her career. But beyond her glamorous image and polished exterior, Barbara exuded a quiet yet undeniable sensuality, walking the fine line between elegance and allure. With each movement on stage, she mesmerized audiences, all while maintaining an image free of scandal or tabloid drama. She had a way of drawing people in with a quiet yet undeniable allure, whether it was the way her fitted dresses framed her silhouette, the sweep of her long lashes, or the graceful, captivating gestures that defined her presence. Among the highlights of her career was the unforgettable track Sleeping Single in a Double Bed, a song that captured both the ache of loneliness and the yearning for love. Beyond its haunting melody, it spoke to the realities of grown-up relationships, allowing listeners to connect with its raw honesty and layered emotions. For Barbara, love wasn't just a theme she sang about, it was a profound thread woven into her artistry, a bridge of feeling that tied her to her audience. Barbara Mandrell's true gift was the way she balanced modesty with an understated allure. She wasn't only a dazzling performer under the spotlight, she embodied the image of a graceful queen, a woman who could draw admiration without ever appearing to seek it. With just a suggestive glance or a subtle nod, she seemed to say, "I can reach your heart, but some things will remain just mine." This quiet sophistication allowed her to craft an image that felt both captivating and reserved, leaving her charm to shine naturally rather than as a display for show. The family variety show Barbara Mandrell and the Mandrell Sisters further reinforced Barbara Mandrell's one-of-a-kind image. On that stage, she didn't just radiate her natural charm, she also projected warmth, approachability, and genuine friendliness. Even with all the sparkle and star power surrounding her, Barbara carried herself in a way that felt relatable, almost like a conversation with a trusted friend rather than an untouchable celebrity. That mix of elegance and sincerity shaped her into more than just a powerhouse entertainer. It established her as an icon admired for both her talent and her heart. By blending glamour with authenticity, Barbara built a bond with audiences that made them feel not only entertained, but truly welcomed and at home. Barbara Fairchild carries an air of innocence, her voice soft and soothing like a lullaby, yet her eyes seem to hold countless untold stories. When she sings about a teddy bear, listeners are transported into a dreamlike childhood world, though beneath it lingers a quiet sense of loneliness and the yearning that comes with growing up. Under the stage lights, she glows, but away from them, her private life remains wrapped in mystery. Whispers circulate late-night calls, secret encounters, letters from admirers who were never truly hers. There is a depth to her life that resists easy explanation. Barbara has never confirmed nor denied such talk, and in truth, she doesn't have to. Her eyes convey what words and melodies alone could never fully capture. It is the gaze of someone who has endured pain, walked through fire, and still carries the faint scent of hope, though shadowed by a trace of hesitation. In interviews, she offers a polite smile, skillfully sidestepping questions that dig too deep. Yet once she steps onto the stage, pieces of the truth begin to slip through, woven into each melody, each lingering sigh. Behind the shimmer of satin lies a heart heavy with sorrow, a quiet storm hidden beneath her calming voice. And when the lights fade, Barbara retreats into herself, continuing to pen love songs that never quite reach a happy ending. Her voice doesn't need to rise in volume. Even a gentle whisper is enough to hush the room, compelling the audience to lean in, listen, and truly feel. Dottie West embodied pure allure, a radiant vision shimmering beneath the spotlight like a star that refused to fade. In sequined gowns that caught the light with every graceful move and with golden hair that dared every gaze to linger, she didn't just walk onto a stage, she claimed it. Each appearance seemed to hush the room, leaving nothing but the music and Dottie's commanding presence. She made it impossible to look away. Every note, every motion carried her unmistakable mark. Her confidence was so magnetic that even the stage lights seemed to bow in tribute, honoring her as a true star in the world of music. When Dottie sang A Lady in Leaven, it wasn't simply a song, it unfolded like a living novel. The tender melodies and heartfelt lyrics swept listeners into what felt like a dramatic love story, only to realize these weren't just words on a page, but raw, breathing emotions Dottie delivered with unshakable sincerity and charm. She wasn't merely a singer, she was a storyteller guiding her audience through a world where every lyric rang with truth and depth. You could almost hear the slam of a door, feel the sting of hot tears, and see the faint trace of lipstick on a collar, moments etched into memory, impossible to erase. Dottie was never a woman who could be easily forgotten. Men remembered her because she never begged for affection, never clung to a feeling that wasn't truly hers. She didn't chase love, she let it find her, and because of that, it always did. Her allure was irresistible, a natural magnetism that drew people in and held their gaze. Whenever someone came too close, unable to contain the frenzy of their emotions, all she had to do was strike a match and watch the fire come alive. Dottie never feared the flames, nor worried about what might be consumed in their heat. To her, love and passion were forces too wild to control, meant to be welcomed fully and only when they chose to arrive. The rumors around Dottie never faded. Too many marriages, too many lovers, too many nights when her car was seen outside someone else's house, a life marked by turbulence and relationships that never found steady ground. Yet Dottie never addressed the whispers, never explained her choices. She owed no one an apology, living on her own terms without seeking approval or pardon. Though she wore her heart openly, her truest emotions stayed locked away, and in her eyes was a freedom she guarded fiercely, never allowing anyone to take it from her. Dottie could not be possessed or controlled. She was a woman who could only be loved on her own terms, in fleeting, enigmatic moments no one could ever fully grasp. Jeannie C. Riley walked into Harper Valley High School with her teenage daughter, and instantly every eye turned her way. She moved with striking confidence, high boots clicking against the floor, a skirt just short enough to spark whispers, and a presence that drenched the front row in equal parts allure and authority. Her hair was piled high, her eyes lined sharp like a classic starlet's, and each step she took claimed her place in the room. Without speaking a word, Jeannie's fashion and sheer presence made her the undeniable center of attention. She wasn't simply a bold woman, she was a hymn-turned-grievance, sacred in her conviction, yet blazing with defiance. In that moment, Jeannie was more than a striking figure. She became a symbol of freedom and fearlessness in the face of judgment. She entered the school like a force of change, shattering old notions of beauty and challenging the narrow roles assigned to women in a rule-bound world. No one could look past her, drawn in by her rare mix of subtle rebellion and innocent grace. The way Jeannie dressed, walked, and carried herself turned her into an undeniable role model, defying a society that tried to keep women within rigid lines. Her presence was more than a statement of style, it was a declaration of independence, the story of a woman boldly claiming her place in a world still clouded with prejudice. Then came her voice, clear, bold, and edged with defiance, ringing out like a declaration no one could dismiss. Harper Valley PTA wasn't just a song. It was a sermon, a direct strike against social pretenses and hollow values. It didn't merely call out the tight restrictions society tried to impose. It lit a spark, a rebellion against the so-called morality wrapped in piety. Jeannie C. Riley pulled back the curtain on hypocrisy, pointing to the secret affairs, the lipstick stains on coffee cups, the whispered scandals hidden behind Sunday smiles. She delivered it all with a sly grin, unafraid and unapologetic. Jeannie's music wasn't just melody and rhyme, it was raw liberation, a jolt to anyone clinging to a carefully constructed facade. The song turned Jeannie into an overnight sensation, but it also made her the target of constant criticism. People sneered at her wardrobe, calling it too short, too flashy, too improper. They insisted she didn't belong on that stage, that it was meant only for women who were respectable and safe. But Jeannie never flinched. She didn't blink, didn't back down. While they whispered about her hemline, she was holding her ground at the top of the charts and waving to crowds from hotel balconies, soaking in the kind of attention they could never ignore. She didn't need to change or apologize, she just kept being herself. And her name echoed through fan letters and backstage doors, etched into the memory of admirers who couldn't let her go. When Jessie Coulter walked into a room, the air itself seemed to shift, as if time had paused to make space for her. She carried a quiet mystery, the kind that suggested she had heard too many lies and learned to tuck the truth away behind a soft smile, a smile that admitted how hard honesty can sometimes be. Jessie never chased attention, yet she drew it effortlessly. What made her extraordinary was the way eyes found her without her ever asking, curiosity sparking in every glance, sometimes admiration, sometimes unease. People couldn't help but look, yet they held back, wary that if they came too close, she might turn over the hidden stones of their lives. Jessie's charisma went far beyond charm. It was a quiet strength that made people tread carefully in her presence. She rarely laid her emotions bare, yet every movement, every choice carried weight, hinting at unspoken depths. She was the kind of woman you could never fully decipher, but you also couldn't look away from, as though each glance, each gesture held a secret waiting to be uncovered. Those who drew near felt her magnetism, yet at the same time they sensed a wall, firm and immovable, that only the brave would dare to scale. She carried a kind face, her soft features giving the impression of innocence, but beneath that surface burned a fierce, unshakable fire. Behind closed doors lived smoky nights, lingering glances, and untold stories that refused to be named. Jessie never confirmed nor denied. She let the mystery linger, as if ambiguity itself was part of her essence. On stage, she didn't need grand gestures to command attention. Her stillness was magnetic, making it impossible to look away. Outwardly, she appeared gentle, almost distant, yet inside she carried a restless current that never stopped moving. And with that presence, her voice layered with emotions that defied explanation, She invited the world to sing with her, but always on her terms, to a rhythm and soul that belonged only to Jessie. Tammy Wynette was celebrated as the First Lady of Country Music, a title that not only marked her place in the industry, but also symbolized her resilience and the unshakable strength of a woman who always stayed true to her heart. She wasn't just a singer. She became an icon for countless women who loved, endured hurt, and kept moving forward. When Tammy sang "Stand By Your Man," it wasn't merely a sweet tune or advice from someone older and wiser. It was a raw confession, a trembling truth pulled straight from her soul. Every lyric, every chorus carried the weight of inner conflict, giving listeners a glimpse into stories too deep to be fully spoken. What set Tammy Wynette apart was never perfection, because she never pretended to be flawless, never hid her missteps or her moments of fragility. What made her legendary was the courage to live openly, to love with her whole heart, and to face the cost without regret. She gave herself to love without calculation, without disguises, without the armor most people wear to soften the blow of heartbreak. And in that total surrender, Tammy became both vulnerable and unshakably strong in a way no one else could replicate. Her quiet rebellion wasn't loud defiance or reckless gestures, but her stubborn faith in love itself, even after it let her down again and again. Every song she sang carried a fragment of her soul, not polished with glamour or shielded by defenses, but laid bare with sincerity, fragility, and a rare, profound humanity. In a world where women were told that strength meant hardening, Tammy carved her own path. She found her power in gentleness. She wasn't afraid of pain, nor of being broken. Her only fear was betraying her true emotions. No matter how many times her heart shattered, she never let it close. And because of that, her music became more than melody. It was the whisper of an open soul, embracing both sorrow and hope at once. In every lyric you could hear not just Tammy's voice, but the voices of countless women who had loved the wrong man, forgiven too much, fallen hard, and still found the will to rise again. She didn't fear being misunderstood, and she didn't need applause. What she sought and what she gave was love in its purest form. That is why Tammy endures, not only in her songs, but in the memories of those who listened with their whole hearts. She held on to men who were never meant to stay men, too unsteady to stand beside a woman who was both tender and unbreakable, who loved with her whole heart, yet carried wounds too easily made. They were never worthy of her quiet devotion or her fragile soul. From those very cracks, Tammy Wynette poured out ballads heavy with sorrow, each lyric etched with the scars of lost love. Her voice trembled not from craft but from memory, weighted with unspoken goodbyes, unanswered prayers, and endless waiting that found no reply. It was the voice of a woman still standing in the doorway of the past, waiting for an apology that would never come. Tammy loved, deeply married, often forgave too easily, and too many times surrendered herself to men who were never strong enough to truly hold her. It was easy to dismiss her as fragile a woman, too quick to cry, too soft for her own good, but how many ever asked why? How many ever truly listened to Tammy, the way she listened to every song she poured her soul into? Beneath the glow of stage lights and the roar of applause lived another Tammy, lighting a cigarette with shaky hands, laughing at stories that weren't funny, because laughing was the only way to keep from breaking. In that laughter lived a woman who had once believed in every lyric she sang, believed in love, in vows, in the dream of forever. But as those dreams slipped away one after another, what lingered was doubt, quiet, creeping, merciless. And Tammy Wynette, the first lady of country music, the icon of heartbreak, was perhaps only just beginning to learn the hardest lesson of all: how to stop believing. Connie Smith is one of those rare singers who makes you believe heaven isn't some faraway place, it's right there in the music. Every note she delivers feels touched by grace, heartbreakingly pure, impossibly delicate, so flawless, it makes people stop mid-breath. It isn't just technique, it's raw, unguarded emotion. The kind that brings men to tears and makes mothers press a hand to their chest, feeling every ache she carries in her voice. Connie doesn't need to shout or dazzle. A single phrase is enough to hush a crowded room. Yet behind that calm, angelic presence is a woman who has endured storms of her own, a soul far more weathered and restless than her voice ever lets on. She married too young at an age when simple dreams feel eternal and promises sound unbreakable. But life, unlike a song, rarely stays in harmony. Connie's first marriage unraveled quickly, leaving behind a disappointment that became part of her very being. She never stood on stage to complain, nor did she feed the gossip pages with her struggles. Yet she never hid it either, because every time she sang, a quiet sorrow lingered the echo of a wound that never fully closed. Connie had loved and lost. She had fallen only to rise again after every heartbreak. Her silence was not indifference, but a form of wisdom, an understanding that life does not have to be perfect to be worth living, and that music has the power to cleanse even the deepest pain. This is Connie's story, a woman who endured loss and heartbreak, yet found her strength in every note. If you feel her sorrow, her resilience, and her unshakable grace in every song, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video so that more hearts can hear the healing power of music. Then came Marty Stewart. To most people, he was just a teenager, bright-eyed, full of passion, and carrying the heart of a young musician. In awe of Connie Smith, the woman with the angelic voice and unshakable grace. When Marty declared he would marry Connie one day, everyone laughed. It was the kind of laughter reserved for childhood dreams, gentle, indulgent, touched with pity, but never taken seriously. But Connie didn't laugh. Not because she believed or doubted, but perhaps because she understood something others didn't, that words spoken from the heart always carry a reason for being. Years passed, life changed, and that youthful declaration, once brushed off as fanciful, quietly turned into truth. It didn't explode into scandal or spectacle. Instead, it unfolded as a quiet, profound shift. Like destiny itself had been patiently waiting, arranging for them to finally meet again at the right time. This love story was never a performance. It wasn't a staged romance wrapped in glamour or applause. It was a quiet bond between two seasoned souls, one who had weathered life's storms, and one who carried a pure, unwavering love for music in his heart. Connie never tried to be sexy. She never chased an image, followed trends, or begged for attention. And yet that was exactly what made her unforgettable. Her stillness, her quiet strength, the trace of sorrow that lingered in her eyes, the voice that carried compassion, depth, and truths too heavy to be spoken. She became an icon, not by demanding the spotlight, but by simply being herself. There was something about Connie that made it impossible to look away, impossible to stop listening, even though she never once tried to hold anyone there. Connie is living proof that you don't need to show skin or flaunt beauty to move people. She did it with a quiet glance, with an old familiar melody, and with a voice that carried emotions no words could ever contain. That simplicity was her power, the very strength that keeps listeners returning to her records, searching for something they may have missed. something hidden in the depths of her sound. Without saying much, Connie made the world pause. She made it listen. And now she invited it to witness a love story just as calm, just as enduring, and just as profound as her music and as her soul. Born on the red clay of Kentucky in 1932, Loretta Lynn was married at just 15 and had 4 children before she even recorded her first song. Each of her tracks carried a raw, unfiltered power, vividly reflecting the struggles and hardships she faced throughout her life. Loretta never shied away from life's obstacles. She confronted them head-on, as if daring them to stand in her way, armed with unwavering courage and determination. Songs like Don't Come Home, A Drinkin', Fist City, and The Pill weren't just music. They were bold statements that sparked controversy and outrage. Many authorities even pushed for them to be banned from the airwaves because Loretta tackled subjects society preferred to ignore. Yet it was precisely this honesty and authenticity that cemented her legacy, leaving a lasting impression on listeners and opening the door for women in country music to be heard respected and fearless in their voices. But that mountain woman never wavered or backed down under pressure. Among her controversial songs, The Pill stood out as a fearless statement about birth control at a time when such topics were considered taboo and women were often silenced. Loretta Lynn wasn't afraid to confront the hidden realities of everyday life. Unfaithful husbands, wives drained physically and emotionally, desires denied, and loyalties betrayed. Through every lyric, she gave ordinary women a voice, exposing their pain, inner struggles, and private sorrows with raw honesty and unwavering authenticity. What made Loretta Lynn's music so powerful wasn't just the stories she told, it was how she told them, with raw honesty, fearless directness, and unwavering courage. Her songs became anthems for women who saw themselves reflected in every line. At a time when society expected women to stay silent and accept their prescribed roles, Loretta's music was a rallying cry, giving them the strength to speak up, demand respect, and seize control of their lives. She built an image of a strong, resilient woman, securing her place as one of the most courageous and influential icons in the history of country music. Her marriage to Doolittle Lynn was an unending struggle. He could be cruel, indifferent, and quick-tempered, filling their life together with tension and pain. But Loretta never sought escape or hid behind romantic illusions like so many others. Instead, she brought her real-life story to the stage, singing it with honesty and unflinching directness. She didn't perform to shock or chase attention, she sang to free herself and give a voice to women facing similar hardships. Loretta's appeal never came from scandals or sensational stunts. It came from her courage to tell the truth boldly and authentically, sharing the everyday struggles that many tried to keep hidden. In a time when society expected women to stay silent, hide their pain, and quietly endure, Loretta Lynn was the first to make country music truly listen to their voices. She forged a new path where women could speak out, share their stories, and shine without fear of judgment or rejection. Through her music, Loretta not only told her own life story, but also transformed how women were seen and heard in society. She became a symbol of strength and resilience, inspiring generations to stand up for their rights and their voices. Because of this, she remains a living legend in the hearts of country music fans and an enduring icon of truth, courage, and authenticity in music history. Reba's life mirrors the songs she performs, profound, powerful, and brimming with emotion. Each note she sings is more than a melody. It's a genuine story, rich with experiences of life, love, and the challenges she has faced. Her music reflects a multifaceted soul, from radiant joy to searing pain, from hope to the uncertain moments that life brings. The depth in every lyric and the strength behind each note shape Reba into a figure of both approachability and resilience, making her an irreplaceable icon in the hearts of country music fans and beyond. After more than 20 years together, Reba's breakup with Narvel Blackstock, her life partner and manager, who had been by her side through countless journeys, shocked and saddened fans and the public alike. It was more than a personal split. It marked a major turning point in her life, ushering in a period of upheaval and challenge. Rather than engage in debates or address rumors publicly, Reba chose to remain quietly strong. She poured her energy and passion into her music and artistic pursuits, allowing her talent, perseverance, and character to speak for her true worth. This response reflected not only maturity and depth, but also an inner strength that few could immediately perceive from the outside. Reba refused to let rumors gossip or life's storms dim the brilliance of a woman who knows how to rise from loss. She transformed her pain into strength, using her resilience and determination to inspire millions around the world. Her career is celebrated not only through albums and prestigious awards, but also through a life story defined by extraordinary courage and perseverance. With every step she takes, Reba proves herself not just as a gifted artist, but as a symbol of endurance, tenacity, and the ability to overcome challenges both in the music industry and in life. Because of these qualities, she remains an enduring source of inspiration for anyone who believes in the power of faith, courage, and resilience. When Lynn Anderson released her iconic song Rose Garden in 1970, she did more than captivate listeners with a catchy melody. She became a symbol of boldness and independence in country music. The song quickly became a global phenomenon, topping charts across the U.S. and internationally cementing Lynn's place on the world stage. Her soaring, graceful voice carried an irresistible pull, effortlessly conveying every emotional nuance from joy to heartache and drawing listeners into the vivid world she created with each lyric. At the same time, Lynn was more than a talented vocalist. She was a fashion icon chic, alluring and unapologetically modern. She broke free from traditional industry molds, forging her own path with fearless creativity and an unmistakable personality. Lynn walked confidently in her own direction, refusing to let outdated expectations define her art or her identity. But success on stage didn't shield Lynn from the complexities of her personal life. Her marriage to songwriter and producer Glenn Sutton, her creative partner in many of her musical achievements, eventually ended in a painful and very public divorce. Their years together were marked by both artistic collaboration and deep personal struggles. In the aftermath, media scrutiny intensified with tabloids and headlines, focusing not only on her music, but increasingly on her private life. Despite the emotional strain and constant public attention, Lynn refused to retreat or be consumed by scandal. She held her ground, continuing to create, perform, and evolve, demonstrating that her identity as both an artist and a woman could not be defined or diminished by hardship. What people remember most about Lynn Anderson isn't the scandals or setbacks, but her indomitable spirit, fierce independence, and unwavering authenticity. She lived, honestly sang from the heart, and never apologized for being exactly who she was. Lynn became a powerful symbol of the modern woman, confident, self-reliant, and unafraid to challenge the rules. Her combination of talent, charisma, and emotional resilience made her a lasting inspiration for generations of artists and fans alike. Her story and her songs stand as a testament to the power of freedom and courage in the arts, redefining what it meant to be a woman in country music and cementing her place as a timeless icon, a living legend in the hearts of those who admired her. Crystal Gayle never had to be loud to draw attention. She slipped into a room quietly, her floor-length hair falling like a curtain that set her apart from the noise around her, and her voice, a whisper soft and delicate, managed to slip straight into the deepest corners of the soul. There was a quiet gravity about her, a beauty that didn't demand, but instead made people pause without realizing it. Her songs were never flashy or overbearing, but they lingered haunting in their own way. Talking in Your Sleep wasn't just another radio hit. It felt like eavesdropping on an unspoken confession, a moment meant to stay hidden behind closed doors. She sang with such restraint, such understated emotion, that listeners often couldn't explain why they were moved. They only knew they were touched by something undeniably true. As the younger sister of Loretta Lynn, Crystal grew up under the towering shadow of a legend. Yet she never tried to mimic or outshine that fire. Loretta was a flame, bold, fierce, unafraid to fight her way through. Crystal, by contrast, was velvet soft, graceful, and unforgettable without ever raising her voice. Where Loretta demanded to be heard, Crystal drew you closer with a whisper. It wasn't rivalry, but balance, two women carrying the same American musical bloodline, each expressing it in their own way. And in Crystal's quiet allure, people discovered a strength that didn't shout, a power that came from the kind of confidence only silence can hold. Crystal Gayle's music carried a graceful balance of country and pop, mirroring the image she gave the world: elegant, poised, and effortlessly magnetic. She proved that you don't always have to tear down walls to create something timeless. Sometimes simply standing firm in who you are is enough to change everything. With her floor-length hair cascading like a symbol of mystery, and her voice as soft and dreamlike as a sigh, Crystal reshaped not only the look of women in country music, but also the very emotions the genre could hold. She never forced herself into the spotlight, yet her understated beauty and unshakable style made her unforgettable, an icon who stood apart without ever needing to try. There were no scandals, no tabloid dramas. Crystal Gayle never needed any of that to carve her place as a legend. In a world where celebrity so often feeds on chaos and overexposure, she held on to her own quiet space, a subtle line drawn between the performer and the private soul. All she had to do was step onto a stage without flash or pretense and let a single high note linger in the air. In that instant, the entire room seemed to hold its breath, afraid to disturb the spell. There was always something intimate, almost secretive about Crystal. Each time she sang, it felt less like a performance and more like a confession whispered to one person alone, perhaps someone she could never truly have, a hidden figure living inside the tenderness, restraint, and longing of her lyrics. Of course, there were whispers about the way certain men in the business lingered with their eyes after a show, about names that were hinted at but never spoken aloud, about stories that hovered in the background yet never surfaced. But there was never evidence, never a confession, and never even a denial. Crystal offered no explanations. She didn't need to. That silence, that deliberate space left unspoken, was exactly what made her so unforgettable. People couldn't stop wondering, not because she revealed too much, but because she revealed so little. Crystal Gayle's silence was never empty. It carried its own language, subtle, dignified, and endlessly magnetic. When she stepped onto the stage, her long hair tumbled like a velvet curtain falling with a kind of seductive weight, like a goodbye wave to something distant, something you could never fully hold on to. That was Wanda Jackson, the trailblazing rebel of 1950s music, an era when most women still sang about tenderness, safety, and sweet, polite love stories. But Wanda was nothing like that. She sang about hunger, about forbidden feelings, about raw energy and blazing passion. Her voice was fire sparks flying across dry ground, fierce yet hypnotic. And when she moved her hips to the beat, it wasn't just performance. It was the rhythm of temptation itself, daring you not to look away. She wore fringed dresses, curve-hugging gowns, and tossed out sharp little winks that made Southern mothers clutch their pearls uneasy with her explosive allure. Wanda Jackson once toured with Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll, and the man with whom she shared a fiery romance. Elvis himself called her his female counterpart, a tribute not only to her talent, but to her strength, confidence, and unshakable spirit. But Wanda was never anyone's copy. She was her own force, a flame impossible to replicate or mistake. Guided by rebellion and a hunger for freedom, Wanda Jackson carved out her own chapter in music history, proving women didn't have to be delicate flowers. They could be blazing warriors, daring to live out loud and to sing truths that had never been allowed before. Let's Have a Party was bold, loud, and unapologetic. Wanda Jackson's fearless declaration that she would live and sing on her own terms, untamed by the narrow expectations placed on women of her time. The song hit the country music scene like a blast of fresh wind, wild, free, and boundary-breaking. But away from the stage, lights rumors followed her like smoke in a dim bar, late-night shows, lingering glances with her band whispered tales behind her back. People speculated, judged, and gossiped. Wanda never flinched. With calm confidence, she refused to explain or defend herself. Her laughter carried a mystery, as though she held a secret no one else could touch. And those sharp eyes dared the world to question her or not. The message was clear: Wanda Jackson was never going to be misunderstood, and she would never be subdued. Wanda Jackson wasn't just a singer, she was a living symbol of rebellion and female empowerment in country music. She became the first true bad girl, a trailblazer, who dared to follow her emotions and instincts long before society was ready to accept a woman like her. At a time when women were expected to be quiet, polite, and obedient, Wanda shattered those molds with fearless defiance, choosing instead to live loud, wild, and unapologetic. In doing so, she didn't just carve her name into music history, she lit a fire that inspired generations of women to step out of the shadows and embrace their voices, their desires, and their freedom without fear. Tanya was just 13 when she first sang Delta Dawn, a song that would come to define her career. Even at such a young age, her voice carried a haunting depth, as if she had lived through lifetimes and absorbed the sorrows of a grown woman. Each note resonated with an uncanny maturity, capturing listeners with a rare mix of youthful innocence and the weight of experience. By the time she turned 15, Tanya was no longer just a newcomer in Nashville. She had become a dazzling phenomenon, like a firework bursting across a sky that had long been bound by tradition and caution. People were drawn not only to her extraordinary talent, but also to her bold, unshakable personality, daring to challenge the conventions of a conservative music scene. Tanya's life soon took turbulent turns when she began dating Glenn Campbell just as she stepped out of her teenage years. Their relationship was far from smooth, filled with scandals, heated arguments, and emotional scars that refused to heal, creating a love story as complicated as it was public. Under the unrelenting gaze of the world, Tanya kept her confidence intact, often answering rumors and scrutiny with nothing more than a daring, defiant smirk. While many artists tried to maintain a flawless image and avoid controversy to protect their careers, Tanya boldly stepped into the spotlight, unafraid to show her pride, her pain, and her courage. She demanded second chances, opportunities to prove herself, and in doing so became a symbol of freedom and resilience for an entire generation of young performers. Tanya sang songs that few others would dare to touch. With "Would You Lay With Me in a Field of Stone," it wasn't a soft, coy confession of love, it was a bold, fearless, and provocative invitation. The lyrics weren't just music. They were a statement of Tanya herself, a woman unafraid to show her true feelings, living fully, and challenging the boundaries society tried to impose. On stage, she embodied a unique fusion of strength and allure. Her shiny leather outfits, paired with delicate lace and sturdy cowboy boots, evoked the spirit of the American West, creating a signature style that was impossible to ignore and unmistakably hers. But more than her image, it was Tanya's attitude that defined her. She never apologized for being herself, never masked her personality, and never bent to fit anyone else's expectations. Every time she took the stage, it was a bold statement of freedom and independence. Tanya swept through the music charts like a storm, untamed, unapologetic, and unstoppable. She wasn't there to please everyone. She was there to make a mark, challenge old rules, and redefine what music and artistry could be. Tanya lived, sang, and shone on her own terms, captivating anyone who watched and forcing the world to recognize the fierce magnetic power of her presence. Before she became widely known as the wife of the legendary Johnny Cash June, Carter was already a star in her own right. Born into the iconic Carter family, one of the most influential musical dynasties in American history, she grew up immersed in music and quickly showcased a natural talent. From an early age, June took the stage alongside her family, performing traditional ballads with charm, wit, and undeniable stage presence. Her performances blended humor, warmth, and professionalism, captivating audiences with magnetic energy. But June wasn't just a singer. She was also a songwriter, actress, and performer whose influence extended far beyond her famous last name. Long before her life became entwined with Johnny Cash's, she had already secured her own place in the world of country music. The love story between June and Johnny Cash wasn't a simple fairy tale. It was a long journey, filled with mistakes, heartbreak, sacrifice, and redemption. Before Johnny came into her life, June had already experienced 2 marriages each, leaving its own emotional mark and hard-earned wisdom. When she met Johnny, he was still struggling with addiction, inner turmoil, and personal chaos. Yet something undeniable sparked between them, an unspoken bond that transcended logic, a rare connection between 2 seasoned souls. June became more than a partner. She became his lifeline. Her strength, patience, and unwavering faith in him helped Johnny climb out of darkness and rediscover his purpose. She loved him through his worst, stood by him when few would, and became the anchor that steadied the storm within his life. Though June Carter often appeared on stage with a radiant smile and playful laugh, her music carried a profound emotional depth, an undercurrent of longing, empathy, and rare inner strength. In her performances, audiences experienced more than a well-trained voice or the charm of a seasoned entertainer. They felt the heart of a woman who had lived, loved, suffered, and found her way back to joy. June Carter represented a generation of artists who thrived not on fame alone but on resilience, honesty, and compassion. She was far more than a supporting figure in Johnny Cash's story. She was a force in her own right, a powerful, enduring symbol of grace, courage, and authenticity in the history of American music. In 1952, Kitty Wells stepped onto the country music stage with a bold and unprecedented declaration, "It's not God who made country music angels." This statement was more than a lyric, it was a powerful challenge to the deeply entrenched stereotypes about women's roles in a male-dominated music industry. At a time when most female singers were expected to take supporting roles performing gentle and delicate songs, Kitty chose a different path. She didn't rely on glamorous outfits or flashy gimmicks to stand out. Instead, she let her simple, sincere voice and direct, impactful lyrics tell the stories of herself and countless other women who had been overlooked and silenced by society. Kitty Wells's songs were more than mere melodies for entertainment. They became the voice of women who were blamed, misunderstood, and held responsible for the hardships in their families and society at large. Every line carried a subtle yet pointed critique of outdated prejudices, offering a fresh, empathetic, and fair perspective on women's experiences. Through her music, Kitty painted an honest portrait of ordinary women's lives, women who endured hardships, mistakes, and injustices imposed by societal expectations. She became a symbol of courage, a woman who stood not only for herself, but as a spokesperson for an entire generation whose voices had long been silenced. Kitty Wells's true strength didn't come from scandal or controversy, but from her honesty and unwavering commitment to telling her story through music. By boldly confronting uncomfortable truths and speaking out on sensitive issues, she sparked a quiet, yet far-reaching revolution in country music and society at large. Her pioneering efforts paved the way for future generations of female artists to raise their voices confidently and assert themselves without fear of judgment or rejection. In doing so, Kitty Wells became more than a successful singer. She became an icon of change, social progress, and artistic evolution, playing a vital role in shaping American music toward greater fairness and inclusivity. Dolly Parton is not only an extraordinary vocalist with a wide range and remarkable emotional depth, but she also stands as a living symbol of strength, intelligence, and grace in the global music world. Each song she performs is more than music. It's a profound emotional connection with her audience. Yet behind her iconic, voluminous hair, glittering outfits, and signature style lies a quietly strategic powerhouse. Dolly understands how to manage her personal image with subtlety and build her brand with foresight. In a constantly changing and fiercely competitive industry, she has turned her fame into a lasting tool, ensuring her influence endures and that she never fades into obscurity. Dolly Parton is not only a talented artist, but she also wields music as a powerful tool to inspire and spread positivity to millions around the world. She doesn't just perform songs. Each one carries a message of hope, love, and resilience, giving listeners a sense of strength and belief in life. Her brilliance lies in balancing a captivating public persona with the profound depth of her music, a combination that has fueled her lasting appeal. In this way, Dolly Parton is more than a music star. She is a global cultural icon continuing to shine brightly year after year. Dolly Parton is not only a talented artist, but she also wields music as a powerful tool to inspire and spread positivity to millions around the world. She doesn't just perform songs. Each one carries a message of hope, love, and resilience, giving listeners a sense of strength and belief in life. Her brilliance lies in balancing a captivating public persona with the profound depth of her music, a combination that has fueled her lasting appeal. In this way, Dolly Parton is more than a music star. She is a global cultural icon continuing to shine brightly year after year. Dolly Parton's legacy is built not only on the timeless hits she has written and performed, but also on the strength of spirit and humanitarian values she brings to her community. Through her music, Dolly delivers a sincere message of perseverance, kindness, and faith in overcoming obstacles to achieve success. She stands as living proof that women can embody grace while demonstrating intelligence and strength in every aspect of life. Beyond her illustrious music career, Dolly devotes herself to social causes, from founding mobile libraries for children to supporting programs that enhance community welfare. All of these contributions have firmly cemented Dolly Parton's place in the hearts of fans worldwide as an irreplaceable legend, an inspiring symbol of courage, truth, and boundless love. Dolly Parton is not just a music legend, she's also an icon of philanthropy, resilience, and the strength of a modern woman. From her timeless songs to her impactful work in the community, she has created a living legacy that reaches far beyond the spotlight. Now, we want to hear from you. What impresses you most about Dolly Parton's journey? Is it her music, her charitable heart, or her indomitable spirit? Leave a comment with 1 if you find her story inspiring, or 0 if you have a different opinion. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss our next fascinating stories. See you in the next video, where we'll explore the great icons who changed the world.